Today, I'm going to show you how you can create your own GPT, make it public so others can use it, and we will create a GPT that access an external service like your own server to provide your own data or whatever you'd like and get even more potential viewers or users for this GPT. So let's get started. Go to Explore and create GPT. Go to Configure and let's think of something useful. I thought of an API or a GPT that can choose randomly a winner, like you provide a list, like your subscribers list, and the GPT is going to pick a winner. If we would use a GPT, like a chatbot, a large language model, it might have some bias towards some users with a certain name or something. So to make sure that everything is randomly distributed, we will actually use our own service. And I'm going to show you how you can create your own service. And this is totally random. So let's create a name, pick winner. And the description is, if provided with a list, I will choose totally random a winner. Let's say the objects in that list can be separated by either a space, a comma, or a new line. And the instruction, a user will provide a list as a string, send that string to the server provided, and the server will return a winner. Conversation status, let's say, please provide me with a list. So we won't use files that we upload, and we won't use the large language model to decide which one is a winner, but we will create an action, and we are not going to use an authentication, but we could. We will just use a service of ours. And let's see, we can provide either the scheme by manipulating a JSON file or a YAML file. And what this is going to do is a YAML or JSON, it's pretty similar. And what it is going to tell us is what path or routes on the server are valid and what scheme the server expects and what types and so on. So let's see. This is the Open API 3.10. The info is about what the API is all about. Let's say the title, pick a winner. Description, I will randomly choose a winner from a list. This is the version 1.00 and the URL is not yet defined. We will provide that URL and we will check if we need a valid domain name and if this would also be possible. We will check that out. But that's the domain name we are going to use. And here are the paths. So what routes on our server are actually used. And here's the location. We can have a valid name like pick a winner. The method will be get, and we will get a winner, get winner from list. And the parameters which should be provided, we can specify parameters in objects format. And the name here is like subscribers or whatever this list is. Let's call it subscribers because probably we are going to use this service to pick a winner randomly and to verify to our subscribers that we did not use any tricks to manipulate the votes or the decision-making process. We have to decide where the parameter or the data is in. It could be in a query. It can also be in the body. We will have it in the body, and the description is a string containing a lot of items. It is actually required, and the scheme is of type string, which is what we are using. Deprecated is false because it's still valid, and you could have components like other schemes which can be referenced in that path get. I think we'll go with that. Let's create an actual server. I'm going to use Linode or Akamai. I will log into my console. I will also have to use two-factor authentication. Always use two-factor authentication because of security issues. In the description down below, you have a link where you can get $100 of free credits on Linode. So check it out. So being here in the dashboard, we are going to create a Linode. We will use Ubuntu, the LTS version. I'm in Europe, so I will go for Germany, but you can decide on the location of your servers. And I will go for the smallest server possible, $5 a month. It is a single core with 1 GB of RAM. We can transfer 1 TB of data, and these are the speeds we can expect. For the Linode label, let's call it GPT random winner, and let's create a root password. Always use a password manager or a randomly generated password. And of course, this service, I will delete the service, so no worries. You can see my password, and I will copy that over here, and we will delete password authentication as well. So even if you would know the password, you could not have access to the server after we are finished. So let's go to, let's create the Linode. We are not going to save the password, and now it is provisioning the servers, and we will have access to this Linode server in a few seconds. What we are going to do now is open a terminal, and let's see if it is running. Yes, it is running, so now we can start. Here you can see your public IP address. So let's copy that. And let's go here in your terminal. On Windows, there is no terminal. You can use PuTTY or another service. On Ubuntu, it's pretty similar to the Mac version here. So let's log in to our server. So let's write SSH root, which is our username for now, and the domain. Let's hit enter, and here you can find a fingerprint. So the server and my computer are communicating, and my computer sees that identification of the server, and he wants to ask me if it's okay to connect to this server and have this fingerprint registered under our known hosts. So now he's asking me for our password, and I will once again go over here, click on copy. We've copied the password. Let's put it in here. Let's hit enter, and we are logged in as root. So as root, we have all the privileges, so we can do whatever we want. That's not a good thing. So we are going to create a new user with limited access, so we cannot mess around. But we also going to give the new user root permissions or admin privileges. So let's get started. But before we start, we want to make sure the server is up to date. So let's write in here apt update, and let's hit enter, and it will get all the updates, but it's not yet installed. So for the updates to be installed, let's write apt upgrade, and let's add -y for yes, we want to upgrade, so no questions asked. Please install everything. And now I will keep the version that's already installed. Want to restart the service? Yes, we want. to restart it. And here we are. So as I've mentioned already, and now we need to add a new user with limited access. Let's add a user. Let's call it Iletic. The password is something I will remember easily and I can type out on my keyboard. It does not have to be as strong as the root password, but we will get rid of the root password regardless. So let's type in some password. For me, it's something I can remember, and let's retype the password. We can skip the full name, the room number, and the work phone home number, others. Let's hit enter. And is the information correct? Yes. And now we have a new user, Iletic, added to the sudo group. So let's call user mod minus add to group sudo Iletic. So now what we are going to do, we will exit the service. Now we want to log in as Iletic, not as root. Let's try that. SSH Iletic add this, and let's type in the password, and now we are logged in as Iletic. So what we want to do next is to get rid of the password login, and we want to log in with public and private keys. So let's create on that server a directory. So make directory in our home folder, and let's call it .ssh. And let's add the functionality that we can access this file. So hit enter. So the next thing what we are going to do is go to our local computer. So open up a new terminal and let's create an SSH key for our server. So let's create SSH key generator -b and type in 4096, hit enter. You probably have a public and private key for another service as well, so don't override it if you have. If there is the question if we want to save it like that, let's type a new name and let's call it GPT pick winner. You can add a passphrase. I'm not going to do that. So, and here it is. We have created our private and public key, and it's called GPT pick winner. So next, we want to copy the public key to our server so he can recognize our computer. So let's type in secure copy and let's go to our home folder SSH and the public key GPT pick winner dot public, and let's put it to Iletic add, and let's copy the IP address over here and let's add :/.ssh authorized keys. Let's hit enter. Now we have to have our password ready. So copy that password from here, copy, add, and it should work. That was the root password. Obviously, we are going to try to copy to Iletic. So type in your password of choice, and now it's copied over. Now we have to go to our server, which is over here. And now we want to change the login process. So let's type in sudo to get root access or privileges, and type in sudo nano. We are going to change a file, and the file is in etc ssh sshd config. Let's hit enter. Let's type in once again the password, and now we are here. Now what we are going to do is we can change the port which our server provides the login. So let's type in 800 or whatever. The family, we just going to need IP4 address. So let's type inet. Permit root login. No, we do not want to log in as user, and we do not want to others to log in as root. Password authentication. Permit empty passwords. No. Let's exit. Yes. And let's restart the HD service. So let's write sudo systemctl restart as HD, yes, and hit enter. Now it should not be possible to log in as root. So we can try to SSH into root over here, and on port is refused. So let's type in on port 800 root, and it's also denied because there needs to be a public and private key. So no other than us can log into the server. That's what we want. Next, let's add a firewall so we can adjust the ports that are allowed and which are not. So let's install sudo apt install uncomplicated firewall. Now it's installed. Let's see the status of our firewall. It is inactive as of now, so we can add rules to that. For our service, we want to allow port 80. That's what the websites are usually on. So that is added. And we want to allow 800, because if we do not allow the login on this port, we cannot access the server. Let's hit enter. It is added. That's it for now. Restart UFW. So let's type in sudo UFW reload. It is not enabled yet, so we have to first go to UFW enable. Do you want to proceed? Yes, we are sure. Now it's activated. Let's exit and let's try to log in onto our server. So let's type in SSH on port 800, and the key is, I think, I, and the key will be on SSH GPT pick winner, and Athletic at the IP address, and let's hit enter. I think we have to use a lowercase p. Yes. Now we are in our server and we do not need to use a password. We can only access our server by having a private and public key. And I will show you how you can easily log into your server by configuring an SSH file. So let's exit out of here and let's go to Nano. We want to edit a file on our host machine or on our computer on SSH, and let's add config. So that's the configuration file of our SSH, and let's add a host, and let's call the host GPT. In here, let's do 4 spaces. The host name, the IP address, the port is 800, the user is Athletic, and the identity file is under SSH GPT pick winner. Let's exit out of here, and now we can log into our server just using SSH GPT, and it should do everything automatically. So our server is now up to date. It is secure. Nobody than us can log into our server, and it is pretty easy for us to log into our server. All we need is to log in as SSH GPT, and everything else is done. Now we want to add the main server, the Nginx server, so Nginx, and we will install this by using sudo apt install nginx. Let's hit enter. So let's type in our password and let's hit enter. Now it is going to ask us if we want to install it. Yes, we have not provided minus yes, otherwise it would have been installed regardless. Now it is installed. Now we want our firewall to let Nginx full access. So let's do that by having sudo UFW, and now we have a list of applications that can be given access through our firewall, and we want to give Nginx that privilege. Let's type in sudo ufw allow, and let's type in Nginx full, and the rule is added. We have to make sure the firewall reloads, and now it is in progress. So the next thing what we have to do is create a Python server that actually runs the script or whatever we want to communicate with the large language model. We are going to use Flask because it's an easy to learn and use framework. So let's create a new folder, make directory. Let's go to GitHub and let's call it GPT server. Let's change into that server or into the folder, and let's open it up in our editor of choice. Yes, I trust the authors because it's me. And let's come over here. Let's create a new file. Let's call it app.py, and we want to create a Flask server. But before we start, we are going to add another file, and this is called requirements.txt. And in here, all the packages we need are listed, so the server knows what packages to install and not. So we are going to install Flask, Flask course, and we're not going to use any databases. Let me think of another package. I think we're good for now. So let's create the Flask server from Flask import Flask JSONify. I think that's enough. Let's install the environment and install the necessary packages. So let's type into your terminal python 3 -m virtual environment, and let's call it env.nosync because I do not want it to be in my cloud. Let's source the environment and let's install the newest pip. And let's install the requirements. Now our editor of choice should recognize the installed packages and everything goes green. Now let's create the app from Flask. Let's make sure we use course. So from Flask course, import course. Course is to make sure that even other servers can access our service. And let's create paths. Let's create at app.route. This is the index. Define index. Let's return a JSON. We just going to use an API, so we will not provide any website, and we just return message hello world as a JSON file. We want to include the actual route. Let's call it API, and let's say pick a winner. I think that's what we have called it. And let's define pick a winner, and the winner is point. That's what we have to provide here. So that is our file for now. What we want now is to upload all the files to our server. So let's create another file, and let's call it copy.sh. And in here, we want to copy every file via secure copy to a remote server. So we are going to use secure copy. Then the port we are going to use, it was 800. The identification is under .ssh and pick a winner, I think it was. Now we want to add app.py to iletic at our server slash colon. Let's make a folder, pick a winner, and let's copy it over here. So we have to make sure there is a directory pick a winner. It is in here, and we will copy that over. And now we will copy the requirements as well. And let's make sure everything works as expected. shcopy.sh. Server says permission denied. So the correct way here is to use the name as we've had, GPT pick winner. It was. Let's rerun the command and everything is uploaded. Let's make sure everything is in here. And as you can see, it is. Let's change in the directory. Let's make a let's make a virtual environment. Before that, we have to install the environment. So sudo apt install python 3 minus virtual environment. Everything is installed. Yes, we want it to be installed. Now rerun the command. The environment is created. We can activate the environment and we can install the requirements. Let's first upgrade pip. Then we are going to install the requirements. And now we can run the app. But I forgot to actually run the app. So let's say if name equals main, run the app. We can run it in debug mode yet, but later we have to remove that. The host is 0.0.0.0 and the port is 5001. Let's upload everything once again. And let's rerun the app. Now it starts, but you cannot access our file using this because the Nginx server does not yet allow this port, or we do not want the port regardless or anyways. So we want the HTTP site to work and we want to have it secure. What we are going to do now is to create a domain name for our server. So let's go to your registrar of your domain name. I have bought Right Neuron for example purposes. And now we have to go to your domain name and let's change the IP address. So go to your service, copy that over, and let's change it. Hit save, and let's do the same thing for the other domain. So it should be of type A, the domain name and the value, and the W and the value. And now in about an hour, it should work. So it should not work right away, but we can try. Write neuron.com. Well, maybe it actually worked already. We can try to ping the server, write neuron.com. And let's see if it's actually the new domain. Well, seems it was pretty fast, so we can start right away. So the next thing is to install an SSH certificate, SSL certificate. And here is how you can do that. Close the server. And now let's type in sudo apt install python 3 certbot and nginx. Let's hit enter. Yes, we want to install it. And the last thing is we have to create the certificate. Let's write sudo certbot --nginx -d. Then your domain of choice, write neuron.com and -d www.write neuron.com. Hit enter. Everything should be in here. Now you have to create an email address. Let's type in my email address. Let's hit enter. Do you agree to the terms of service? Yes, I do. And now it will be generated. Everything is successfully installed and deployed. And if we rerun our call to our servers, welcome to Nginx. And that's a how you install or create your own server and your own website. Now our website is as follows, writeneuron.com. Now we can type in /API, and it would not work yet because even if we have had here some routes like index, hello world, it would not work yet because the Nginx server is not configured yet. So let's do that. Let's type in sudo etc, I think, Nginx sites enabled. What we forgot is to have an Nginx file on our sites enabled. So let's remove that default value, remove default, and let's create another one. And let's call it GPT winner. Now let's create a server. So server, listen on port 80, the server name and the location /API/ is going to use a proxy pass. So we will pass to our local host on port 5001. We will include the etc nginx proxy parameters, and the proxy redirect is off. So let's once again type in sudo certbot --nginx -d writeneuron.com www.writeneuron.com. Let's hit enter. Let's don't forget the -d. Let's hit enter. We have created an SSL certificate a few minutes ago. So now he's asking us, or the computer is asking us, what we want to do. Attempt to reinstall the existing certificate. Yes. Let's try to reinstall the certificate once again. And let's try the service once again. Before that, let's restart the Nginx server, sudo systemctl restart Nginx server, and let's run our app. And if the app is running under the correct port, we should be able to use HTTPS. So now everything is secure. So that's a good thing. Now to the app, the actual app. Let's go back to ChatGPT. And now what we want? In the body, there is a name. Let's call it my list instead of subscribers. And it is in the body. It is a string containing something. And so pick a winner, and the domain here should look like this. And let's try it. Get a winner from a list operation, debug. Okay, it will send to our domain, and the path now. Let's go back to our Nginx and don't use API. We are going to use everything. So let's just call location X. Let's restart the Nginx server. So now even this should work if our server is running. So let's run the server once again. And now it works. Here is hello message, and under API, nothing is found. Let's handle error messages 404. And let's call app.errorhandler. Let's create a function not found with 404. Let's handle a bad request as a JSON, and let's order it chronologically. 500 is a good error message we want to have as JSON. Now we have to copy everything to our server once again to make changes. And let's see, 401 if API, just API. But if we have pick a winner, the winner is we can intentionally say a name like Joe Doe. So to have a winner that is not random at all, but our server is actually going to return a winner. So now let's confirm it and let's test it. It will actually communicate with our server, but it seems there was an error because it did not get any feedback calling HTTP endpoint. So I don't know why there is no response here. Let me check. Let's ask ChatGPT why the method is none. I thought we have specified a get method. Why is the method you would like to use null? It should be get. Get winner from a list. Let's change it here. Name method my list. In body string required true. Scheme type string A, B, C. Okay, now it's going to provide us with the method get operation hash. It will now pass a string like this. So the parameters will be my list and it will provide a string. So knowing that, we can make changes to our service. First, let's check if my list in request body / JSON. So if not in request.json, let's see. No, that's not what we want. If not my list in request, let's import request JSON abort 401 with a description my list required. Let's add custom message. Let's make it error.description if description in error, else bad request. And now if there is a list in our request body, let's split it and let's select a random winner. So my list is equal to that, and let's split my list by a semicolon or a colon, and let's return a random item. NP, let's import numpy as np, and let's use np.random.choice from my list, and let's return the random item. So having said that, we can copy that to our server. Now we know that we have to separate everything by comma, which we have. So there is colons, or there are whatever you call this symbol, but we can get rid of them later. So it will send that, it will split by these commas, and it will pick a random thing here. Let's try that. Allow. And let's debug the error message. The response is still null because it's a /pick a winner, and it is totally ignoring this API. So let's get rid of the API, I guess. We can get rid of the API. And let's make sure we get rid of the API here. And let's try it once more. A, B, C. And before that, we probably are going to get an error because we have not installed NumPy yet. So let's copy it over once again. And as I've said here, NumPy is not defined, so we have to install the requirements, and it will see NumPy is not installed. It will install NumPy. Let's run the service again, allow it to call it, and there's still no response. Maybe we need to specify it as post to have the request body to work, we can also use method here explicitly saying that post is allowed. Let's try it once more. Let's see, now it's using post and the path is pick a winner. Let's confirm. And let's see, it is trying get and post, pick a winner, and it's getting 405. At least it's working now. The response data is method not allowed. Which is weird because we've said post is okay, but we can. Didn't we copy that over? Let's try it once more. And the winner is B. Well, this is how we have implemented it. Let's save it. Anyone with a link, confirm. So this is working very well, but now we want the server to run even if we have no connection to the server. So if we would actually leave this, the whole website is down, so nothing happens here. What we need to do is run it in a Docker container. So now we have to install Docker on our server and Dockerize our service, and that's what we are going to do now. First of all, to get rid of this annoying underline, let's install here NumPy. And now let's create a new file. Let's call it Docker file. And let's write something in here. So we will run simple Flask app. So now we want to add a Docker file. So this is what we've got here. You can copy everything to the Docker file. And now we have to set the secure copy to include the Docker file, add Athletic, and copy that over. The Docker file is copied as well, as we've see here. To install Docker on Linux, go to this page, and now we will run a few commands, and this is what we will copy over. We have already updated everything, so now we are just moving on here. Let's install this. Let's install that. Let's curl from this website. And let's paste every line into our console and run it. And now we can add the repository, sudo update. And while it is updating, we can copy over this one. Yes, 500 megabytes is okay. And we won't copy that over because we do not want to run Hello World, but instead we want to run our own app. Our Docker file is over there. And now we want to just run our Docker file. So after everything is up to date and the Docker file is on our server, we can try Docker, sudo.docker, check if there are any images or containers running, and there are no images. So now we want to build our Docker, so sudo docker build. Let's specify a name, Flask app and Flask app latest. Now everything is being installed into a container, and after everything is finished, we can actually run the container. I think we have to move that up. I have a little mistake. There should not be the word install in here. So let's copy that over once more. And let's rerun everything. Now it should work. After everything is installed, we can see there is a Docker image. Now Flask app, and we can run this image by calling sudo docker run minus port 5001, because that's the port we want the Flask app to run, and it will be Flask app latest. The problem here is that we have not installed Gunicorn, so let's install it here in our requirements. And of course, our app after being deployed should definitely be not in debug mode. So let's copy everything once again. Let's rerun the build process, and now it will actually install Gunicorn and execute everything. So once again, everything is installed. Just run the container. It should now be visible in here, and let's try it once more. And here is hello world. And if we now run our test again, let's say banana, apple, and strawberry, it should work once again. Not us being logged into our server, but the Docker file running. So everything worked, and as you can see, it's actually putting out strawberry. So now we can exit here. So we are definitely no longer logged into our server. And the interesting thing is that our service actually is very fast, and it appears to be very slow in ChatGPT. So if we make a curl request to our server by sending the list, we get our response instantly. So, and it definitely changes. So as you can see, everything works fine, and I hope you've learned something new today. Stay tuned for the next video.